And thank you for being here, Director Wray. Before I get into the primary topic of my remarks, I want to ask you about a separate issue. On June 16th, my esteemed colleague, Ranking Member Raskin of the Oversight Committee, sent you a letter asking the FBI to publicly reiterate certain non-classified information that it provided in an oral briefing about Form FD 1023, subpoenaed by Oversight Chairman Comer. It has now been almost a month since Mr. Raskin sent his letter. When can he expect a response?
I'll have to check with my staff because we've gotten so many letters from so many members, and that's each one of them is important to me. But as I sit here right now, I don't know when the timing is, but we'll get back to you on that.
Okay.
And more importantly, we'll get back to you.
Okay. All right. Thank you, and we will follow up. Okay. Especially because I did ask directly of your staff, so we'll follow up. And now, St. Louis and I are here today in continuing solidarity with the protesters, the advocates, and movements that are actually targeted by surveillance and other law enforcement abuses in this country. Director Wray, I know that you are aware of the FBI's long and sordid history of targeting Black protesters and activists. At a hearing before this committee in December of 2017, you characterized the abuses related to COINTELPRO as, quote, one of the darker moments in the FBI's history. It's something we're not proud of, but it is also something we've learned from, end quote. But Director Wray, isn't it true that an FBI agent improperly ran a batch query of unminimized FISA information using the identifiers of 133 individuals arrested in connection with the protests after the murder of George Floyd in 2020? Just a yes or no is fine.
Well, I'm aware of the instance you're talking about. Whether or not that correctly describes it or not, I'm not 100% sure. I know it's in the most recent FISC opinion, but what I will tell you is that incident is non-compliance. I consider it unacceptable, and most importantly, it predates all of these fixes and corrective measures and reforms that we've put in place, which I think would have prevented it from happening now.
Thank you. And now on to Zero Fox. Isn't it true a firm hired on a $14 million contract by the FBI, which we've heard already today, to monitor social media threats, previously labeled Black Lives Matter activists as threat actors requiring constant surveillance? Yes or no?
I'm not sure that's a correct description of the way we do work with Zero Fox, but I don't know that that's a correct description of how we do it.
So did the FBI hire the firm?
My understanding of Zero Fox is it has a tool which allows us to in certain instances, engage in social media searches to prevent threats.
So the
FBI,
so they weren't hired.
I don't know, again, the terms of our arrangement, like whether it's a retention or what, but I've heard the term Zero Fox before, and my general experience is it's usually used in connection with preventing violence at a particular critical incident of some sort.
So to the tune of $14 million, though, there is reporting that threat actors was actually what they label Black Lives Matter activists, two of whom I know very well. And I served more than 400 days on the ground during the Ferguson uprising myself, more than 400 days, many of those days with those two people that were named and who are not violent. Isn't it true that the FBI has been actively involved in the law enforcement response to people protesting the Atlanta Public Safety Training Center, a response that has included state charges of domestic terrorism against protesters? Yes or no?
Well, our Atlanta division is working in support of our state and local partners when it comes to violence and threats of violence that occur amid the unrest that you're referring to.
So the FBI is involved. These are not isolated incidents, and as I said, they're part of a long history of abuses by the FBI against Black and brown communities and progressive movements. These are the real oversight issues. They matter to my district where there is real and justified skepticism of whether the civil rights of Black and brown people are adequately protected. I know this from personal experience in the Ferguson uprising and from other protest movements that I have been a part of. That's why I asked you about the targeting of protesters the last time that you were before us, because it also included me. But what my district is not concerned about is the Republican conspiracy theories and selective targeting of law enforcement agencies who try to hold their twice impeached, twice indicted cult leader Donald Trump accountable. The Insurrection Caucus wants to use this hearing to score immediate political points. They want to invade oversight. They don't want to conduct it. But we're talking about real issues, real reform that could actually save lives. So once again, I urge my Republican colleagues who claim to care about government overreach and weaponization to do the exact same. I yield back.
Gentlelady yields back. I would just remind the lady that what we'd actually like to do is work with you to protect Americans' privacy, whether they've been targeted on the right or on the left.
Point of order. Point of order. Point of order.
Gentleman may state his point of order.
It's not your time.
I appreciate the point of order, and I was just getting